Hi, this is the fifth online class, and today we're gonna have payment certificates. And according to the payment certificates are a guarantee that the contractor can claim this payment from the client. So you have the payment mechanism already set, already agreed upon, and everything, and it's mentioned in the contract itself. Now we need to do our payments. Practically, we want to get our payments, and this is there is something that you have to submit, which is the bills, as we have mentioned in the previous class. And there is something which is called payment certificate. After you submit your bill, it has to be certified. It has to be checked on, and then afterwards it will be signed, stamped, certified by the client or the main contractor or whatever the entity that you are working with. Then afterwards it will be kind of like something which is called certificate. That means that you are, as we said, you can claim the payment from the client. There are four main types in a normal construction project, which is types of payments: advanced payment certificate, and interim payment certificate that we do it during the project, and then completion certificate and final payment certificate. So let's go and check one by one. What does each one of these mean? Advanced payment certificate. It is the initial amount given to the contractor to enable mobilization, because we said that we need to have a mobilization with the contractor. He needs to shift his materials, his equipment, his laborers. He needs to set up the site, do the site offices for the engineers, accommodation for the laborers if they are living there, and maybe he's trying to also to shift some to do some plans and make it ready for the project itself. So he needs some money for that, and he can get some which is called some amount of money from the client himself, which is called the advance payment. In Oman, the advance payment is equal to 10%. Okay, mostly it is 10% of the contract value, less any sum for contingencies. Means that if you have any contingencies that you have put in your contract amount, this one will be not included in the calculation of the 10%. So advance payment will be 10% into the contract value, except the contingencies. So this is why we are deducting the contingencies here. For the second one, which is the interim payment certificate, so we have interim bills. We have to submit the bill, as we mentioned before in the previous class. Regular requests for payments, called bills, are submitted to the client at agreed upon schedules. As we said, maybe milestones, maybe times, maybe monthly basis, or whatever the payment mechanism might be. It depends on the payment mechanism and the agreed upon schedules for payment. It is monthly for most government projects in Oman, which is unit rate mostly. And when this request is approved by the client, it becomes a certificate, as I have said a few minutes ago. So since these payments are made during the project, not at the beginning or at the end, they are commonly referred to as interim payments. So we are doing this in sequentially during the project according to time schedules. So this is why they call it interim. And the bills are to request them are called the interim bills. So the interim bills, after it is certified or approved by the client, it will be a payment certificate. The interim bill, it will be payment certificate after approvals from the client. And when they are approved, it becomes interim payment certificates, as we said. The contractor requests amounts based on the following two main categories. As a contractor, when you can request the amounts, value of work actually completed, according to the quantities that you have done, you have to claim this work. So you cannot claim more than the work that you have done or completed at site. The other thing is that the materials, maybe you have bought some materials and you have put in the site itself. So materials are on site, not yet incorporated into the work. You just you haven't used it yet, but you have procured these equipments, maybe these materials or whatever the subject might be, Okay, just you have procured this one, you have paid for this one, but you didn't use it right now. So you can claim 80% of these materials that are on site but yet not used. Okay, the materials that are used, which means will be included in the completed work. So the value of the work done is paid in full to the contractor as it is their right, but as per the standard document of building and civil engineering works in Oman, the materials on site can only be reimbursed for to be compensated for up to 80% of their value, but not any more than the amount. So this is why the formula will be the gross amount due, value of work done plus 80% of the materials on site. When you do this date of measurement, the interim bills are usually submitted at the end of each month. This is unit rate. This is the unit rate mechanism. The data date or date of measurement, when you do the measurement, is an important term which defines the cut-off for the measurement. So you cannot like submit the work that you are expecting to be done next week. No, they have to tell you that this date you have to stop or cut off the measurement up to this date, and you calculate what you have done. But you are not supposed to calculate, or you are not allowed to calculate the work that you are expecting to be done within maybe the process of certifying or approving your interim bill. Like for example, you are saying like I will take like 1 week in order to get the approvals for the interim bill. So I will include my work that I am expecting to do for the next week. This is not allowed because the date or date of measurement is an important term which defines the cut-off for the measurement. So they will tell you, for example, every 25th of the month, you need to do your measurement up to that date. Any work done after that date or the date of measurement is deemed to be excluded from the submitted bill and is assumed to be included in the subsequent one. What are the deductions that we will do from this bill? Because you are submitting a bill, and there's some kinds of deductions that will be deducted from your payment. They will tell you that you deserve this amount of money, but we will deduct this one and this one and this one according to the contract. So what are these deductions? The following amounts are usually deducted from each payment certificate: advance payment recovery, because the client, when he gave you the advance payment, he wants to get it back from you again. From the payments that he's paying for you, so he will get back his advanced payment. And also the retention payment, it will be deducted amount due to the client by the contractor. If there is something due to the client by the contractor and he needs to pay it for him, he has to pay it also. And previous interim payment certificates that we have seen in the previous. So just like you have your cumulative quantities amount, and you have to up to the previous amount, then you will get this month amount. Advance payment recovery, what does it mean? How can we calculate the advance payment recovery in order to deduct it from your bill or from the contractor's bill? The 10% of the amount due is in every payment certificate is deducted until the amount recovered of the advance payment is equal to the advance payment originally made. So 10% of what you deserve, or what your payment is, we will deduct 10% from it as a client. So 10% from the gross amount due. Okay, so gross amount due 10%, you will get advance payment recovery. You will continue this process until you reach to the advanced payment originally has been made by the contractor, and then afterwards no deduction for the advanced payment recovery after that, after reaching to the original advanced payment. Retention also, the percentage 10% almost, it is the retention of the amount due in every payment certificate is deducted until the amount deducted reaches to 5% of the contract value. Because they say that there is 5% as a contract, as a retention. Sometimes it's 10%. However, we will deduct 10% from your gross amount due, okay, until the amount deducted reaches to 5% of the contract value. Why until it reaches to the 5% of the contract value? Because at the contract, we said that you have to pay 5% of the contract as a retention. So this is why it is 5%. This is agreed upon in the contract that 5% will be the retention. Amounts due to the client by the contractor. This is not deducted in normal projects, but in some projects where the contractor has to pay the client for some products, services, or resources. Example, if the contractor purchases surplus steel from a previous project from the client, or rents storage spaces from the employer, or sometimes maybe you are using his facilities, you are using his accommodation, or he's supplying food for your laborers. He has a catering company in the site, which is remotely. It's not based in the city itself, so you cannot provide food. So you in the contract you deal with the contractor to provide the food for your laborers, for your staff, and it will be deducted from your bill. And previous interim payment certificates, since the interim payment certificate include the work done up to the date of measurement, the net amount due for the current certificate has the net amount due for previous certificate subtracted from it, and the net amount will be the net payment due to the contractor in the interim payment certificates in the gross less the relevant deductions. It will be like this: the net amount due means the gross amount minus the APR, which is advanced payment recovery. Here it's APR, advanced payment recovery, minus retention, minus ADCC, which is this one, amount due to the client by the contractor, and PIC, previous interim payment certificate. All these will be deducted to get your net amount due. Final payment certificate. After finishing or completion, after the completion, certificate is approved by the engineer. The contractor is entitled to the work done until the date of the completion. Certificate plus 50% of the retention. So once you finish your project, you will ask for the final payment certificate, which means that you have done all the project according to the requirements and objectives that has already been set in the contract, and now you are eligible to request 50% of the retention payment. And how much the retention payment? We said that it is 5% of the contract, of the amount, total amount of the contract, 5%. So from that 5%, you can get back, after the successful completion of the project, you can get back 50% of that 5%. Then the other 5%, which is the return of retention at the end of period of maintenance, they call it, which is usually 1 year, 365 days from the date of the completion certificate. This completion certificate, once they issue this one, they'll start to count 365, which is 1 year days, to pay the remainder of the retention held by the client is returned to the contractor. Up to today we reached up to the end of our class today. And for the next class, I want you to just revise these information before we start solving the practice problems for the next and last class. Thank you very much for watching, and see you in the next class. Thank you.